Hey, what's going on, guys? Today I'm going to show you how to remove, refurbish, and reinstall your Dodge Cummins starter. This should work for any Dodge Cummins from 94 to 2007 that uses a Denso starter. My pickup happens to be a 98 12 valve, but this should work on your 94 to 07 Dodge Cummins because they all use the same starter. My symptoms of it going out have been when I turn the key, it'll just click, and it'll do that a couple times until it finally decides to turn over, and then when it does turn over, it's really weak. So that tells me that my contact points are going out and possibly my solenoid. So I'm going to remove the starter, show you how to do that. Then I'm going to just tear it apart, clean it up, replace those contact points and the solenoid. And I'm 100% positive it is that because all signs point to that. And just so you know, if these contacts are going out, your starter actually can be stuck on. So when you crank your motor and it starts, your starter will still be turning. And that actually happened to me in the driveway, luckily. And I'll show you what I mean. So I turned my pickup on in the driveway here, and I was starting to back out, and I could hear it. So I had to run out, pop the hood, run out, and disconnect my battery before I damage my starter. But I'll just show you right now. Here are my keys. They're out of the ignition. And just so you know, my pickup being a 12 valve, I put a manual fuel shutoff cable in instead of the fuel shutoff solenoid. So I got to make sure that's pulled out so my motor won't start up. So just to show you, my fuel is off, so my motor's not going to run. But look at here, my starter is stuck wide open. Yeah, I see that? See? So my starter is stuck on, and you can, yeah. So that's not good. So we're gonna go ahead and pull the starter, and I'll show you how to do that. Okay guys, before I get into it, I just want to let you know that I highly recommend rebuilding your stock Denso starter that came with your 94 to 07 pickup, because these things are beasts. This one has lasted 230,000 miles, and they are very capable of lasting that, if not longer. Their only weak points is what is going on with mine, is just those contacts, which are really cheap, easy replacement. Those contacts in the solenoid, I think the kit's about 30 bucks on Larry B's. Larry B also sells everything else you need to rebuild your starter if other things go wrong. I think the master rebuild kit for these starters is 100 bucks. It's way better to rebuild these than just to take your starter in as a cord and exchange it at like O'Reilly's or AutoZone and get just a kind of a subpar starter that you will probably be replacing again in 18 to 24 months. This thing should last you a long time. Okay guys, the first thing we're going to do is make sure you take off your negative battery cables from the negative side of your battery, and make sure you do that to both batteries. And you should do this whenever you're working on a vehicle for safety reasons and so that you don't damage your vehicle. Today this is really important for me because if this, as you saw, grounds out, my starter is going to start cranking over, and that wouldn't be good since that's the part I'm working on right now. So just be mindful when you take them off, make sure they're not going to slip off and accidentally ground themselves out. So with that being said, let's get into removing that starter. Alright guys, I'm just going to show you the bolts that you have to take out to remove your starter real quick, just so you know where to look for them. The first one that we're going to look at is right here. I'm just right by the master cylinder, behind the injection pump, and under the fuel filter. You can see your starter from up here, and I got a little pen magnet pointing to it, and I'm going to see if you can see that. There's the top of the starter. It looks like that fuel line's in the way. There, see where my magnet is there? See that right there? Right there, that's the bolt on top that you got to get. So now that you see that, let's go underneath real quick. I just want to show you the other two bolts that hold the starter in. and this one right there, and that one right there. So to me it looks like there's 3 bolts holding the starter in, and then here's your main power coming from your battery to your starter, and then that looks like your ground right there. Okay guys, so to get this hot wire off, it's a 14mm. I'm using a deep well with a 3/8 inch drive ratchet. There we go, we got the nut off, and now we're just gonna pull that wire off. This little ground wire is pretty tricky to get at since it's in between your tranny lines and it's kind of at a weird angle. So I'm just gonna show you what I'm gonna use to get it with. I'm gonna use a little 1/4 inch drive ratchet with a fairly long extension, and then I got a universal at the end, and that is connected to an 8mm socket. So I'm just gonna stick it right in between the tranny lines here. You can see that, and that works really nice. And there we go. Next we'll remove the main studs to get the starter out. The first bolt I'm going to take off is that one I showed you in the beginning, that one on top that's kind of tricky to get. I'm going to show you how to get that. What you need is a 12.10mm socket, and I'm just using a 3/8 drive wrench. You're just gonna go right under here, and your creeper or whatever, and you see I'm on this side of the starter. I'm just gonna reach my hand up and flip the handle of my ratchet pointing upwards, and then just kind of feel and find out where that bolt is, and then you get on it. And I already broke it. Once you break it, it's pretty much finger loose. I got a pretty fine tooth ratchet here, so I can get a couple of good spins on it, but that's how you get that tricky top bolt. And there you have it. Then you can move on to the easier ones. Slip my ratchet over it. Pretty tight. Break it loose. There we go. And they come loose very quick. See that? Take that out. There you go. That's 2. Alright, so as you can see, this last one here, last one I left in, can't get my ratchet on it because it's got some lip right there. So what I'm gonna do, the bolt I just took out from right here, I'm just gonna thread it in a little bit, just so when I get this bolt out and starter, I mean, I don't think it'll fall, but just to be safe, I'm just gonna grab a ratcheting wrench and get this last one. Alright, as you can see, when I'm backing this last bolt off, you can see the starter starting to split. I put that other bolt in, luckily, so it shouldn't fall on me. So once you get this out, I'm gonna have to use both my hands to fish this thing out. But pretty much I'm just gonna take this bolt out here, and then I'm gonna support the starter with one of my hands while I unthread this bottom bolt, and then I'm just gonna fish it down. And I should be able to clear these tranny lines. I got a fair amount of space right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and just take these 2 bolts the rest of the way out and take my starter out. And that's pretty much all there is to it to take these starters out. They're actually very easy to take out. Just be careful and use a little common sense so you don't get hurt. You don't want a starter falling on your head. Starter's out, I just gotta get that last bolt out. So I mean, this, if is loose. Fish her down. And there you have it, guys. Pretty easy. I had a lot of room to fish it right over the front drive shaft and above those transmission lines. So there you go. Your starter's out. Now let's see how we can fix it.